Hey, Mark.
Any fresh concerns after last night?
No, not from last night. A couple of boys cramping up. Destiny, Mickey at the end. A couple of small knocks. Obviously, big physical numbers last night, so boys are a little bit tired this morning, but health-wise, everyone's good.
Good. With that in mind, and you had options off the bench, which you've not really had that luxury this season. Do you probably think you'll make more changes this Sunday with Thursday in mind, of course?
Yeah, a bit of a combination with Thursday in mind, but also with Sunday in mind, because like I said, there was a big physical toll last night, so we know White Wolves is a challenging game, but I think for us, it'll be about sort of managing some minutes of some guys, but also getting some minutes into other guys. I said we'll need a big game, big performance on Sunday, so having some fresh legs will help, but also looking to next Thursday. Like I said, it's not just about resting guys or managing guys, it's also about having guys ready next week, could go to 120 minutes, and we need people ready to go. So a combination of those factors will make some changes.
Yeah, looking at last night's game, especially the second half, keep hearing, it's going to be tough out there, it's going to be tough out there, but you've clearly shown that you've got more than enough to go out there and cause some serious problems, because on another night, 3 or 4 could have gone in last night.
Yeah, no, look, I think both things are true. I think it will be tough over there. I think every away game in Europe is a challenge. I think you saw last night, I think the other 3 ties ended up as draws apart from the Bodo Glimt game. So I think next week will be tight. But like I said last night, I thought, even in the first half, I thought we were well in control. Obviously, we conceded the goal, which was disappointing, but I thought we fought back well. And yeah, second half we dominated. So it's going to take a repeat of that kind of performance over there. And I don't see any reason why we can't, just because it's away, I don't think that the circumstances will change. I don't think they'll change how they play, and it's important for us to, take the positives out of last night into next week.
I mean, looking at the Thursday, Sunday and the new European format, I'm looking at the Premier League table as well, and some sides have done well this season. A vast majority of them haven't had Europe. The juggling is obviously difficult. And talk about the football gods last night. You really do need the football gods to be with you to keep your squad fit, because it's hard this Thursday, Sunday.
Yeah, it is, mate. I've put in my calls, mate, but no one's picking up from the football gods. So I've got a feeling they changed their number recently. So all we can do is, like I said, prepare ourselves really well and like take some real positives from last night in terms of our football and our approach and our mentality. I think irrespective of the situation you're in, I think quarterfinal football in European competitions is tight by its nature, and I said we'll need a repeat of last night's performance, and hopefully, a couple of things do go our way, because last night, it's fine margins from us having a comfortable lead, but I really believe if we repeat that, we'll get things going our way. Charlie.
Hi, Ange. I wanted to ask you about your captain, Heung-min, because obviously this fixture on Sunday is a big one for the Korean fans. He obviously played his part in the goal yesterday, had that great chance in the second half. I just wondered, how important does he remain to you in terms of what he can bring on the pitch, but off the pitch as well? I mean, every time I interview a player, I interviewed Matisse last week, for example, they always say that Son is such an important player in helping them settle into the club. So how important does he remain in terms of on the pitch and also off the pitch for you?
Yeah, no, he's still a huge influence for us, as you said, on and off the pitch. And, he's working hard for the team. I thought last night he played his part in us creating a lot of opportunities. And I thought, him and the others in the front three were really disciplined in sort of the way we executed those. So, Son is hugely important to the club, hugely important to what we're doing at the moment.
And in terms of Wolves, they'll have Mateus Cunha back from suspension, but in his absence, Jürgen Strand-Larsen has been scoring goals. What kind of a test will that front line provide for your back line?
Yeah, good challenge. They're a good side, and I think they've shown sort of stabilise in recent times, and especially at their place. We had a tough game at their place last year as well, and that's why I think it's good preparation for us. I think we need to be, again, at the levels we need to be in the Premier League to get an outcome. We want to get another positive result. We obviously won last week, and we want to keep that going and have momentum building into Thursday. So good challenge for us, but one we're up for.
And just to finish off from my side, what have you made of the work that Vitor Pereira has done since coming in to Wolves?
Yeah, really good. I think I've known Vito for a while. We crossed paths in Asia, and good manager, good guy. And like I said, I think he stabilised them. He obviously, when he took over, it was a bit dicey for them, but they're in a good place. But I felt all along they had good players. They got good individual players for sure. They got some real talent in that team. So like I said, good challenge for us.
Hi, Ange. How are you?
Good, mate.
The cynic in me would say that Sunday's game doesn't really matter to you that much. I mean, it's a Premier League game, but that's about it. Next Thursday is the be-all and end-all, and would you not be better off wrapping up your first 11 in Cottonwood on Sunday and giving them a day off to relax and enjoy the sun in the garden?
That's a cynic in you. What's the optimist in you? So, well, I want to hear the optimistic Ian.
The optimist
there's
says
enough
that,
cynicism in this room, mate, without you adding to it.
The optimist in me says that if you've got a great chance of getting through next Thursday after last night, I'd wrap my first 11 up in Cottonwood and put it in the garden.
Yeah, no, look, I understand that. And like I said, there is some of that in place, but I also think that, it's no secret our league form this year has been nowhere near the level it needs to be. And I really think, I thought, especially in the first half last week against Southampton, we played well. We played well last night. We want to continue that. And I don't think you need to compromise the way we go about things, because I think the changes I make, should help us, because there'll be guys who, didn't play last night or only played sort of cameos that will have the energy we need for that, and that with a combination of guys who will back up. Some guys need games. You can put them in cotton wool as much as you like, but some players need to play, and they need to play pretty regularly. So it'll be a sort of combination of hopefully getting an outcome on Sunday and also having great preparation for Thursday.
I think it's fair to say Son's form this year hasn't been what it was of years gone by, especially when he was a Golden Boot winner, but then he's obviously 2 or 3 years older from that point. You've said he's hugely important to you on and off the pitch. Can he be that leader for you to get you this trophy this season, or are you relying more on a Romero or a Bentancur to, on the pitch, be the leader? No,
I think, look, I don't think, again, both can be true. I think, Sonny, I still think is very much the leader of the group on and off the field. But, I think part of that process is to allow growth of other guys. And I think we've seen that this year. I think, with like you said, I thought Rodrigo was outstanding last night with the way he sort of managed the whole game, and Cooty's always a big presence for us. We've had guys like Decky earlier in the year standing up. I thought Matters in the last few weeks has really started. We need that sort of spreading of that sort of leadership load, because underpinning that is still a very young group of players who are experiencing things for the first time, and it's your leaders that you hope will navigate them through that.
Finally, something which can't be alleged at your team is that a lot of people are saying that Premier League teams, Premier League players, are overcoached and sort of playing like robots now. Maybe that's why sometimes Premier League games aren't as exciting. First of all, what's your response to that? And secondly, off the back, one of the great players in the Premier League, Mo Salah's committed his future to staying here in England for the next 2 or 3 years. That must be good news for the league.
Yeah, definitely sort of great news for Liverpool, I guess, more than anyone else. But he's such a fantastic player, and you spoke about age before, but with certain players, age is irrelevant. He's probably had his best season this year, and I don't see him sort of diminishing. So great for Liverpool again, and you're right, great for the league. You want the best players here. You want the best players performing in this competition. So yeah, I think that's positive for everyone. And in terms of overcoached. I mean, I think the beauty of the Premier League is I still think there's a diversity there. When you look at, all the managers, they come from all parts of the world, all kind of have different sort of thoughts and beliefs, and I think you still get a fair cross section of different styles. And I still think there's that nice, still that eclectic mix of football that I think the Premier League is known for. I think with other leagues, you kind of maybe see a certain style through the whole league. I think here you still get that little bit of sort of variation, so I still think that's there.
And kind of touched on a previous answer there. Feels like the attacking movement and the link-ups are kind of clicking back into place again the last couple of games. Is that, I presume you can see that in training as well. Is that just players coming back, a bit of energy, a bit of competition?
No, I think it's just, like I said, I think the key thing for us is the training. We've got players back now, and our training looks a hell of a lot different to what it did, for 3-4 months there, where we could actually work on things that, patterns and things that really make us, such a difficult team to stop. Because, when we're at our best, we have multiple attacking avenues. You saw, Pedro scored last night in the post, and all those kind of things. And for those things to kind of flourish in our system, you need cohesion, and you need the ability to work on that at training, and just the quality of players we've got back now. We're able to find so much many, different solutions, and like I said, that makes us hard to stop.
I'll talk about Christian Romero as well. He's a fascinating player to watch. He obviously sets the tone in matches. He likes to kind of grab the game by the scruff of the neck. But there's occasions when he'll do that, he'll just go up the pitch, and sometimes he'll stay up there as a striker. What's that kind of like as a manager from the sidelines?
Yeah, look, I think within sort of the scope of what we're trying to do, I think it's just one of it is just Kuti trying to sort of be an instigator, an aggressor in the game with and without the ball, and at different times it works. I mean, you might not remember he scored a goal against Arsenal by doing exactly that. So we understand that there are moments you need to do that. Other times we need to sort of make sure that we stay disciplined. But for the most part, I think Kuti, when he's out there, feels like he always wants to be somebody who makes an impact on the game, and I think that's important for us.
Just finally on Matisse Tell. Obviously, he's kind of barely got his Tottenham career started yet. It's only been here a couple of months. There's already reports in Germany of maybe him being sent back at the end of the season. Obviously, you were so strong on him being here for the future. I presume that's still the case. Yeah,
we're still. Don't believe everything that comes out of German press. Any press, really, these days. I shouldn't say press, but just information in general. The days of it being double-checked, triple-checked, triple-sourced are long gone. So, no, Matty, important for us. Look, when he came in, people forget he hadn't played hardly at all at Bayern, and we threw him in and was playing him game after game after game. It was always going to be a big ask for him, but that's the challenge he had. And now we're absolutely, we're working with him, we're training. We really believe he can make an impact. And physically he's much better now. He's in a much better place, and he's getting to understand our game a lot better. So we'll keep working with him. And I still think he's an exciting talent, and happy to have him.
Finish with George, please.
Hi, and just on your point actually about don't believe everything you read, there was a little bit of chat yesterday about Wilson Odegaard potentially being injured, but he was obviously on the bench but didn't come on. What's the kind of latest? Is everything fine with him?
Yeah, no, he's okay. Again, with all the guys who've come back from long-term injury, we've taken a different approach. We kind of know that, we just got to always be monitoring how they're going. I mean, we did it with Mickey and Destiny and Romero and all these guys who've come back from long-term injuries, and there are different times where they're going to get sore in different areas. But Wilson trained today, and we'll see how he is tomorrow. He should be available for the weekend as well. But certainly nothing wrong with him. But look, there's no doubt we've got a leak inside the club. Somebody continues to leak out information they have all year. I don't know why. It doesn't help us. It just makes our job more difficult. We try really hard to sort of keep things in-house like all clubs, because what you don't want on game day is opposition being aware of any sort of team selections. But we've got somebody within our camp who continually gives out information. We've narrowed it down. I've been looking at it for quite a while, kind of have a fair idea of where it's coming from. We'll deal with it, but it's not helpful to us. Like I said, half of it's misinformation, half of it's half the information, but irrespectively, it certainly doesn't help our cause, because on game day what you want to try and do is keep as much information in-house. We try really hard to find out information about the opposition, very hard to. But with us, somebody has an open line to what we do, and it's disappointing because you'd like to think that everyone who's in our camp is working with us, not against us.
And you mentioned, I think Kulusevski's kind of touch and go maybe for next week. What's the kind of, how has he been progressing?
Yeah, he's trained today with the team. Well, not with the team, with the guys who didn't play last night, obviously only half. And he's looking good. Won't be available for Sunday, obviously, but plan is for him to train this through the weekend. Train with the first team from the beginning of the week, and if he gets through that, then he'll definitely be available for Thursday. Again, unlikely to start because he's been out for a while, but he looks really good.
And just finally, obviously Sunday's game is important, but I guess the focus is all going to be about next Thursday. Is Brennan Johnson kind of a good example to any players that do play on Sunday, because he played against Southampton, scored twice, and helped him get the shirt for last night, and I guess that's a message to those players coming in. If you perform on Sunday, you can start next week.
Yeah, spot on. And it's, you've just stolen my team review this morning, George. Is the leak getting to you too, mate? Jesus Christ. It is. It's that's what I said to the boys. I mean, 7 days in football is a long time, and what I ideally want is people to play on Sunday and play really well, that they're ready for selection and pushing the guys who are there. That's the beauty of having a strong squad. I always feel that competition is the healthiest way to get the best out of people, and that's the opportunity exists. And like I said, next Thursday might go for 120 minutes, so that means that even players who come on late in the game have to play for a good 45 minutes of top level football. So yeah, that is an opportunity for the guys, and certainly I think, with the way the guys are training, that's how the guys who play will see it. They certainly won't see it as just a sort of token game. They're going to see it as an opportunity to push their case forward.
Okay, we'll end the broadcast section there. Move on to the Embargoed section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. Tom.
Ange, going on from when you first noticed it?
You tell me, Tom. I'm just testing everyone now, just trying to catch people out, mate. No, it's been going on for a while, and it started last year. We thought we nipped it in the bud, but it's still consistently coming out at different times. You try and keep the circle of information pretty tight, and because, like I said, I always think I don't understand why people would do it, especially if they're so-called in our camp, because I don't know how it's helpful to us. It certainly doesn't seem to be helpful to us. I mean, sometimes for us, information is best kept within our sort of closed doors, because, like I said, we have oppositions who are trying to analyse us and try and see if they can get some extra information on us. So there are various ways you can find these things out, and you kind of hope that people come to their senses after a while. But like I said, it just continues to happen. So we'll get to the bottom of it.
It feels like this an age-old story in football. Players who maybe aren't playing, they tell their agents. And we hear about it.
Yeah.
It sounds like this is something more specific.
No, it's not. Definitely not agents, mate. The stuff that's coming out is pretty specific, and pretty. The language used is not used by agents. Trust me.
Right. In terms of terminology, or
Yeah.
okay, and
go on, mate. Questions. I'm not going to tell you, but anyway.
Yeah. I mean, were you suspecting players then?
No. I'm not suspecting anybody. What I'm saying, it's definitely not the players. No, it's not the players. So, because for me, the information that's getting out is information that. Look, I think I've always said here, especially with medical information, I'm really, really careful, because it's still, even though we're in the world of football, and I know everyone thinks that these things should be, carte blanche in terms of information flow, I'm still very respectful of people's medical records and how much information we actually give on certain things. And sometimes players don't want that information disclosed. Simple as that. And the fact that it's getting out is unacceptable. From, like I said, a club perspective, because it doesn't help us. Not from the individual's perspective, it doesn't help him. And as a club, I just think, you know what, we've got enough challenges out there without adding more to ours.
Just to clarify, it's injury information rather than tactical.
It's a bit of everything, mate.
Okay. Just one other question on a separate topic. Just, you asked about Sonny before. It feels like you often, I've asked questions about his leadership. He's going through a goal drought at the moment. He's scored a penalty a little while ago, but in open play, no goals in his last 15 games. How is he, that must be frustrating him. How is he dealing with the sort of personal frustration with having to also be the leader of the group?
I think he's been able to separate both. Like, you're right, he is frustrated, because I think, like all attacking players, scoring goals and is a big part of their game, and certainly a big part of Sonny's game. I think his return over the last 10 years has been remarkable for a player in his position. But I think he's been pretty good at sort of separating both. I think, especially the last two games in particular, he's really tried to sort of make sure he serves the team, does the team things first. I think he's been an instigator in pretty much all our goals, in terms of playing things that, if he was sort of desperate for goals, he probably would have taken other options. So I think as long as he does that, I think we'll get him into a position where, he was a bit unlucky with the strike he had last night, where he'll get the goals. But more important for me, I think, is that he continues to kind of do those team things, because I think with a lot of our football, the goals will come to the attacking players if they do the right things over and over again, rather than them having to individually sort of go out there and find them.
Paul.
You said you deal with it on the league, obviously. How will you deal with it?
Internally, and hopefully you don't find out. But like you deal with anything, I think if people aren't doing the right thing, you deal with it.
Is this something that could be the end of someone's time at Tottenham?
Look, it's not about that. It's not about. It's about trying to make us as a football club run as professionally as we possibly can in terms of information flow and the way we conduct ourselves. And I don't think any organisation, whether it be football or any other organisation, if you have people giving out what I think is sensitive information, particularly on the medical front or tactical front, then I just don't think it's right. So you need to address it.
Have you had to deal with anything like this before?
Yeah, it's always in football. Like you always get, and I've had various ways, but certainly not as consistent as this. You know, usually when you address it the first time and you kind of address it with key people, people sort of understand, okay, well, you know, we better sort of play ads in a little bit. But with this one, it seems to be consistent, so we'll deal with it.
Dave?
Just following on that, this talks to culture, doesn't it? One of the most important things at any organisation, not just football.
100%, yeah, and that's that's the bit we're constantly, not just me, but the other people in the club, we're trying to change and trying to get the club to a place where, you know, there's a real sort of strong mentality and identity of who we are and protect that and sort of make sure that, you know, we have the right professional mindset in every aspect of, because, you know, to have success in football is very, very difficult. We know it's often fine margins. We saw that last night between success and not having success, and what you want to do is the things you can control. You know, try and do them to the best of your ability.
I just wanted to just a bit of housekeeping as well, just in terms of Son's contract. Is there anything at all that's moved since we last asked you about this?
I don't think so. I think we triggered the extension. Yeah. No. Apart from that, no.
I just wondered if we get to the summer and he's still just got the 1 year, the extension year to come, how you and the club would feel about that.
I think all those things we'll address kind of at the appropriate time. I don't think now's the time to kind of look at that. You know, certainly at the end of the year there'll be a point of review where we look at sort of where we are as a squad and sort of do some forward planning. If I'm here, mate. And kind of look at what next year looks like and beyond, and you know, I'm sure Sonny will be part of those discussions.
John?
With the mole, have you had to...
The mole. Gone from the leak to the mole.
Leaky mole. Have you had to do a Colleen Rooney and set a false trail of information? That's how she dealt with her. Has it been anything like that?
No. Look, it's a simple process. You just limit where the information goes, and it's pretty easy to figure out.
Football manager's a busy man. You're having to turn detective as well.
There's always a bit of detective work in football management. Like I said, I really just going back to, you know, I think it's a cultural piece. I think, you know, I'm big on, you know, creating a culture of success, and I don't think successful organisations behave in that manner.
Who is your go-to detective if you're reading or watching TV? Do you have one?
Oh, no. Reacher. Just get out the big bat and pummel people.
Hi, Ange.
Yeah.
On a slightly different note, you spoke very well last week about wanting more of the voices kind of inside and outside the club defending Spurs. I wonder kind of to what extent you know, those voices can kind of be working behind the scenes at organisations like the Premier League and UEFA, kind of the bits of football we don't see to sort of push the club's interest. I mean, is that something you think Spurs do kind of well enough?
It's hard to say sort of the behind the scenes stuff, because again, I'm not exposed to that at this club. You know, you know, I said before, sort of my exposure to a lot of aspects of the club is fairly limited, but yeah, the public piece is stuff that I'm aware of, and you know, I think it can be sort of helpful, particularly through tough times. And again, I'm not talking about cheerleading, but you know, having people who understand, you know, sort of the process the club is going through and the challenges it faces and sort of how they're trying to navigate that. rather than sort of, like I said, at the moment it's all kind of, there's a lot of sort of groupthink happening where, we're obviously not going well in the league, and that's just means that sort of everything's seen through that prism and that light, without no one sort of taking a step back and seeing actually that we've actually made some decent inroads in certain areas. And as I keep saying, and certainly my belief is that we'll still get to where we want to, even with the difficulties we've had this year. But I think when I'm the only one saying it, it just sounds self-serving. It just sounds like I'm just trying to sort of protect my own space, which I'm not. Like I said, I don't. It's the furthest thing from my mind, but I understand that people would see it that way.
Have you had a chance to speak to Scott or Johan or even Daniel about that?
Look, particularly with Scott and Johan, I have daily communication with them, and I kind of, and I think they're of a similar mindset, in terms of, how we sort of communicate. I think, I'm sure even you guys got tired of me talking so much this year. I think, you're nodding, you definitely, no, don't shake your head now. Your initial response was a nod. And I understand that, because, Anthony and I say, I was up last night, I'm up today, and it seems a lot of managers as well, not just me, we're spokesmen for pretty much everything that happens at a football club. And I'm okay with that, but a lot of things I got no exposure to, so it's not even right that I should be addressing them. But I think with the way football's going, and it's obviously become a massive industry, and there's so many things within the mechanisms of every football club. Having just the one spokesman for it doesn't make sense to me, whether that's internally or externally. But yeah, we have discussions about how we can navigate and sort of communicate better moving forward.
Is it fair to say that we were saying that sort of having someone above you at boardroom level who could talk about issues that you were not across would be a helpful thing?
I think in some areas it would be, only because it kind of paints, I think, a more fuller picture of what we're doing as a football club. Because at the moment, like I said, it's just seen through the prism of our results, which is fair enough. Everyone will say, well, that's all that matters. But there are times I think it goes beyond the results, and understanding where we're at as a football club and what we're trying to build and sort of what our strategy is, and that maybe gives people an idea, okay, well, that's why they're making the decisions they are right now.
Thank you.
Elias, to finish, please.
Regarding Wolves, obviously it's a team that's kind of struggled towards the bottom of the Premier League for most of the season, but still aside with lots of quality, they've got 3 players who frequently play for Brazil, full of international. And for a side that's trying to, I suppose, balance 2 tournaments like you are at the moment, is that kind of a unique challenge in the Premier League, that you face teams from the top to the bottom that just have so much quality?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the beauty of the Premier League. I think obviously this year, and I guess last year, the 3 promoted teams have really struggled. But I think in between that, you've certainly seen an evening up this year of clubs who are very, very competitive, irrespective of their position on the table. And for clubs like ours, who we obviously went through a really tough time with injuries, who are depleted, that means that you're really sort of vulnerable against every team. Potentially dropping points and not getting results, because, like I said, the quality within even sides down sort of towards the bottom end of the table is still very, very high. I think Wolves have got some outstanding individuals who could fit comfortably into teams in the top half of the table for sure, but they're not the only ones, whether it's all the other teams in and around there. And so that's the unique challenge of the Premier League. But I think that's why we enjoy it, is that, for the most part, every game is pretty competitive.
Seen action very much recently. Is it just a case of players coming back and the 17-year-old just finding its way back in their natural pecking order?
Yeah, not so much natural pecking order, but yeah, it's sort of understanding that we've exposed Mikey a hell of a lot more than I thought we would at the start of the year. He only sort of just started playing under 21 football last year, and he had some injuries, didn't play a lot, so it was kind of touch and go at the start of the year. Do we let him sort of bet in with the 21s, or give him a loan, or keep him with us? But I felt that if we kept him with us, and my thing was let him train with us for a year, train with men, train in the first term environment, see how he adapts, and at the end of that, he'll still be 17 or 18, and we can make decisions. But he's played a lot more than we thought. But he's still very much part of our sort of setup in the first team, and it's training every day. And I think we'll see the benefits of that to years to come. We don't need to be in a rush with Mikey. He's a very talented player. He's working hard. I think physically, I still sense like he's growing into his body. I think, we've seen with Lucas this year, the difference in 12 months in young players is quite transforming. So I think Mikey will be in a similar kind of boat. But we're still very happy with him, and we're sure he'll keep developing.